I couldn't do anything for myself and had to rely on someone to help me with absolutely everything. This was just the beginning. I am now launching my transformational coaching business to where I can truly help those who are struggling and feel like they're all alone.
You have so many preconceived notions in your own head about money, about how it's handled. I mean, we navigate that all the time with our clients, right? Hey guys, and welcome to Financial Mastery Simplified. I'm your host, Jacqueline or Jax Kreider, and we are trying to make all kinds of things that touch the financial space and the financial realm and sort of simplify them down into bite-sized chunks to make sure that it's something that you really can achieve and obtain. So our guest today is Miss Elizabeth Meggs. She is a very dear friend of mine and has an incredible story. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, and thank you so much, Beth, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jax, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Nice.
My name is Elizabeth. I go by Beth. That's what my friends and family call me. And the last 23 and a half years of my life has been a whirlwind of ups and downs, struggles, challenges, and me having to basically learn how to rise above and overcome every obstacle that I've ever faced. 1 week into my freshman year of high school, I was severely injured in a car accident that left me fighting for my life. Prior to that night, I was very popular. I was a singer-songwriter, had been performing and skiing since the age of 7 for over half my life. My voice teacher saw my gifts and my talents, and she believed in me and had arranged for me to be in a recording studio cutting a demo tape just 6 months prior to that fateful night that I almost lost my life. My life was easy. I had everything going for me. My dreams were coming true. But then that night, everything turned upside down. We were traveling down a rural 2-lane highway when all of a sudden we were struck from behind. This sent our vehicle into a tailspin, which then proceeded to barrel roll multiple times until we finally landed in the field on the opposite side of the highway. With every roll, my head was at the point of impact. I was cut from the vehicle, and the rural hospital where I was taken by ambulance, of course, was not equipped to meet any of my medical needs. So I had to be life flighted an hour and a half away by car to give my brain and my body the best chance of survival. When my family arrived at the trauma center, they would receive a very dim prognosis. The neurologist would inform them that I suffered a traumatic brain injury, and I had less than a 25% survival rate. My parents and my family were devastated. They had no idea if I was going to survive or not. I was placed in a drug-induced coma to allow my brain and my body the best chance of survival. I would remain in this coma for 3 weeks. Once I came out of the coma, I was reduced to that of an infant. I couldn't do anything for myself and had to rely on someone to help me with absolutely everything. This was just the beginning. It would be 3 months before I would make it home for good, staying in hospitals and rehabs, relearning how to walk, to get strong enough to where I could get back into school and be safe. Once back in school, this was when I discovered the biggest challenges that I would ever face. You see, my friends' lives had gone on, and my life was completely over. The girl that I once was before that car accident had died in that car accident, and those dreams that I was chasing died with me. I would come home from school multiple times a week, just devastated, dealing with rejection, dealing with judgment from people that would not know of the car accident or know what had happened to me and decide that I wasn't worth their time. This hurt. Coming home from school multiple days a week for over 4 years, and I would tell my parents that I should have died in that car accident. I wish I was dead, and I want to kill myself. This was so hard because I knew everything would be better if I hadn't survived. But that's when a voice on my heart would come over me, a voice from my higher power, God, saying, I have a plan for you. You can't stop. You have to keep going. I knew in that moment there that I couldn't stop because I was going to need to one day be for someone else exactly what I needed in that moment. So I had to keep pushing forward. I would go to bed every night praying to God, asking Him to lead me and help me to make the right choices so I could help those He placed in my path, not ever having any idea what that plan would be. I would get through high school, graduating with my class by the grace of God, go on to college where things got a little bit easier, but I still dealt with the judgment and rejection, not having any idea what that plan was for my life. I would change my major 4 times before finally graduating with a degree in occupational therapy, where when I began treating my patients who had suffered a stroke, I began to see the power behind my story and how I could provide hope and inspire people to keep pushing, help them to believe in themselves and know that if someone else could do it, they could do it too. Years later, I would find a church that had a Celebrate Recovery, and it would be then that I would discover the impact that I could have getting on a stage and sharing my testimony with people. It was amazing. I saw all the possibilities. I continued to go through life, and God has continued to open doors for me to be able to get on bigger and better stages. I am now launching my transformational coaching business to where I can truly help those who are struggling and feel like they're all alone. So I can help them to know that they aren't alone and they have the power within them to be able to rise above the obstacles and struggles that they face, just as I did, so that they too can learn to overcome.
That's awesome. So what has you excited to talk about, here on Financial Mastery Simplified today?
I am excited to be here because with this world constantly changing, you're faced with challenges every single day. You have to kind of learn to change and grow through these challenges, and that takes a positive mindset. It takes having to shift your perspective so that you can face the negativity that the world throws at you each and every day, and so that you can learn how to rise above and overcome those struggles and those challenges so that you can succeed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people really do not count the mindset aspect in the financial space specifically on how much it really, really affects people. I mean, I say all the time, obviously, what I do for a living, where we help people, manage this really large financial purchase, basically the largest financial transaction they will encounter in their life. And a lot of them don't realize how much mindset surrounds that decision and how they, have to either they already have, like they've either gone through it before or they're going through it in current state to try to get themselves in a mindset to be able to not only kind of take on that debt. What does that look like? What's their plan for continued success, and make sure that they're going to get to where they want to go. And I think, part of the reason I really started this podcast is I see a lot of that in my space. I see that a lot of people struggle with other aspects that are not just purely financial. I know that a lot of people probably, when they started listening to this podcast, thought to themselves, well, I don't get it, right? Like, how does mindset break down financials, right? Like, that's not really simplifying financials, but it is, because what you don't realize is you have so many preconceived notions in your own head about money, about how it's handled. I mean, we navigate that all the time with our clients, right? Like how they view, like you'll have one client and they will want to stretch themselves and like almost put themselves in harm's way financially. And then you'll have the other client that you're almost kind of having to drag and say, hey, you need to really consider spending maybe a little bit more money, because it's ultimately going to get you more where you want, right? So I think this is a very applicable topic for sure. I mean, what do you think is your biggest, most important thing that people don't think about when it comes to mindset? Because you've had to deal a lot with mindset. I mean, as you expressed, you pretty much went from scratch, right? You went from rebuilding your entire life and being this wonderful, great, being this very successful individual, if you will, to kind of basically being the exact opposite of that, right? Feeling like you were worthless and not meriting even to have survived it.
Right. Mindset is huge, and especially around the financial stuff. I've had my ups and downs financially over the last 23 and a half years. So, mindset is huge. When you are struggling financially, you've got to keep your eye on the prize. You've got to keep pushing. You have to act with intention to be able to pull yourself out of it. You just can't sit back and waller in it and say, oh no, how am I? Throw your hands up in the air and give up. Because that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to keep pushing through. I've been in that place for several years off and on, and it took me living intentionally, being able to walk through the fear, step out of my comfort zone, becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable, to be able to push through it and be able to find my way out.
Well, and you and I are part of the CEO table together, and we talk a lot about how important mindset is, and that, yes, in a weird way, it's your natural inclination to try to stay in this safe space and like, not kind of put yourself out there or whatever. But a lot of times people don't realize it's super important to go intentionally and to push yourself out of that space, right? To talk to yourself about, these decisions or whatever, and very verbally. So, right. Like actually out loud, which again, for the longest, I joke that, man, I felt like I sounded ridiculous doing that. Like, wait a minute, you want me to talk out loud about like this situation and I'm supposed to like tell myself this stuff? Like, this sounds ridiculous, but I mean, it's highly effective, right? Like, very effective.
Yeah, when you start like daily affirmations, when you are struggling, and you start speaking as if it's already here. I am a successful speaker. I am a successful transformational coach. I am helping 20 clients per week to be able to regain their lives. Once you start speaking the truth, it kind of shifts you to where you begin believing it. It's all about belief.
Right.
Hope and belief is, once you start having that belief that you truly can do it, you're halfway there. That battle is nearly done.
Yeah.
Then you just got to step out, take action, and start making a way.
Well, and
And
I'm sorry,
the
didn't mean to interrupt
funny
you. Go ahead.
thing is that once I start stepping out of my comfort zone, taking action and being intentional, that's when I'm attracting exactly what I need to be able to get me where I need to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and I think you really made a good point too with that. Yes, like 80% of it is mental, but the 20% you still do have to do the work. So it's not like we're not kind of selling this hoo-hoo philosophy that like
No,
if you just believe it, it will come. Okay, that's not what this is, right?
no.
Yes, you have to believe it. That's like 80% of the battle. But then the other 20% is that you do have to put the work in, right? You have to go ahead and be that intentional way and do the hard work and do the heavy lifting. And it doesn't necessarily have to be hard per se. When I say hard work, I don't necessarily mean it's hard like on its face. Like, what I mean is that you're intentionally striving after those goals that you've set for yourself, right? That you've spoken into existence, that you told yourself you already are. Like, you have to actually intentionally then seek them out to go after them. And we've talked a lot, I know, in our platform about how that awakes your subconscious. Like, a lot of people don't realize that by having those conversations, right? By speaking them out, that your subconscious then is looking for that. It's looking for ways. Like, it actually, your own mind does want you to succeed as much as you think it might be against you. And trust me, from the classic overthinker, my mind definitely feels like I'm not doing a lot of good things a lot of times and that I'm against myself. But it does want me to succeed, and I have to remember that and strive for that.
Yes, and when you can learn how to kind of shift your perspective to the positive, because what you focus on grows. So when you are being hit with nothing but negative, but you can shift those negative things to positive, then you're going to begin to see all of the possibilities before you. Every struggle that I have ever faced, I've learned to shift it, because then I'm seeing the positive, and then I begin to see the doors opening right before me. And all I got to do is step out of that fear and walk through those doors. And by walking through the doors, that's what's helped to build my confidence over the years.
Right.
I would love to share with your audience what fear actually is. If you're taking notes, definitely write this one down. Fear is nothing but false evidence appearing real. And what I have learned is that you have a 50-50 shot. That thing that you are so afraid of could be the thing that changes everything around and helps you to get to that place where you're able to make all of your dreams come true. So don't ever let fear hold you back.
Well, and
Pushing.
a lot of times people also don't remember that a lot of fears, even though they may have a tiny shred of evidentiary proof, they're so likely negative that we're like holding on, like it's actually irrational for us to hold it, right? It's sort of like when people talk about getting on planes and they have this fear of flying, right? So if that's you and you're listening and you're thinking, well, I'm afraid of flying, statistically speaking, you're much more likely to die like 90,000 other ways, right? So
Or
could you
in a
die by,
car rather than a
right,
plane.
exactly. Could you die by getting on a plane and it crashing? Absolutely, right? Like that's absolutely true. But you could die almost any other way too. Like you could literally just stop breathing. You could be eating a grape and choke on it and die. I mean, there's so many different possibilities. Like don't allow that one little morsel of like the possibility or whatever. I mean, it's much greater likelihood that the other things are true than that one little teeny thing that you're kind of holding on to. And again, it's because you believe that you're going to keep yourself safe. But safety is kind of an illusion.
Exactly. And you're talking about holding on. So you're holding on to that one little fear. But imagine when you learn to let it go, possibilities are endless as to what you can attract and what can take its place that could be 100 times or 1,000 times better than that one little fear. Learning to let go and then accepting the good things all around you, that is so much better. And it's
Absolutely.
freeing.
Well, and I was going to say, a lot of times, like I said, I mean, when we deal with this like big transaction, right? This big financial transaction, it's just amazing to me, like even the fear of like having a conversation with us, right? I mean, most people, I mean, at least I push out enough content. I hope they know that having initial conversation with a mortgage professional is a free service. It's not anything that costs you, you know, I mean, we do ask you to be respectful of our time, but beyond that, as long as you're being respectful, like we're going to answer questions, we're going to help. But so many people have this fear that like what they've done in past is going to have caught up with them. And then so my answer is going to be no, or you suck, or all these other things. And then the crazy part is that I would say that most good professionals in general come from a place of help. Like our goal is to help you achieve your goals, not just because it's the only way we really get paid. I mean, that is absolutely one factor, right? But the biggest thing is just like we really have a desire to actually help those people get to where they want to be, right? I mean, so a lot of times people have these fears in their mind and in their heart that, oh my gosh, you know, I'm not going to be able to achieve what I want. But if you're getting there intentionally, maybe it's slightly farther down the path than you would have hoped, but it doesn't mean that you weren't going to be able to accomplish it. It doesn't make it any less true that you're not going to get there.
Exactly. You brought up your past. So if you have stuff in your past that isn't good, again, letting go. Learn from your past and then keep moving forward. Start making better choices from what you learned. That's where growth happens. And that, again, is how you can succeed and get through life and become more confident. Have a stronger belief in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just amazing to me. Like I said, I mean, I think so many people when when they're going to go and listen to this podcast about financial mastery simplified, like they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like we're going to break down mortgage or whatever." And I mean, I don't have a problem like breaking down those concepts as well. I mean, I push out a lot of content that does a lot of that as well and do a lot of courses surrounding a lot of those kinds of factors and features, right? But my biggest thing is that I need people to understand that there's so much more when it comes to financials that are not the tangible math related things that they think of when they think of like, oh, okay, well, I need to get a great credit score and I need a certain score. Well, okay, that's great. And that should be maybe a goal that you have, and that should be something you strive toward. But remind yourself that your credit's not going to get better if you haven't shifted around your mindset surrounding money and how you're going to affect that. How are you going to take, and why did your credit get like that in the first place? It could have been a one-off, right? A situation like you dealt with divorce and that kind of, threw you through a loop. Maybe they had a medical situation like, what you dealt with in your life that levels a lot of families.
Yeah.
They have some kind of a struggle, they, whatever, but a lot of people don't realize that all of that is temporal. You can fix it no matter what the challenge is, no matter how bad it seems, you can fix it yourself. And also, don't be afraid to tap your resources. People like you, right? For the mindset.
Yes,
People like
exactly.
me for the financial piece. Like, we will help.
Exactly. I encourage you, if you're feeling stuck, whether it's financial, whether it's personal, whether it's anxiety, depression, whatever it is that has you feeling stuck, like you may be alone, whatever it is, start thinking about the things that you're grateful for. That helps you to shift. Start thinking about everything that you have. You woke up this morning with breath in your lungs. You're able to go out, go to work, whatever it is. As long as you are alive and you're still putting one foot in front of the other, you can dig yourself out of whatever you're sitting in. I've been there
Absolutely.
so many times, so many ups and downs, even after the car accident. And I've been asked this so many times over the last few years that if I could go back and change anything about my past, would I? My answer is no, because those challenges have made the victory so much sweeter once I was finally able to break through. So if you are feeling like you're struggling and all you see are challenges, that to me is always my evidence that I'm about to hit a breakthrough. You can't stop. You have to keep fighting.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I think there is so many times that people just, I think so many people are afraid of their potential. I my natural God-given gift is that I can see into people, and I've always been able to do it. So when I meet somebody, I see all the potential there. I see all the amazing things that they could be. And it's really interesting because for a very long time, I took it very personally when I could not help pull that out of somebody, when I couldn't reach into them and convince them that what I saw is what they could be, right?
Exactly.
And somebody who was very close to me once told me, well, that's not your job. It's not your job to decide if they want to tap into that and they want to be the person that they can be and the thing that they can live up to. That's their job. Your job is to point it out, right? So here's Beth and I, here's your people pointing out to you that you do have what it's capable of. Like you
Yes.
do have what it takes to do whatever it is that you have felt led to do or
Mhm.
called to do or really desire to do. You just have to find the way. And if you start talking to yourself and putting that into practice and just speaking that into your own self, like it is going to happen for you, right?
Yes.
Find your tribe, find your people who can help you do that and help you grow.
Find the people that lift you up. So many times over the last several years, I've had people in my life who are at the lowest of lows. And I, like you, Jax, can see into people. One night in 2017, God showed me a friend's heart, and showed me that that friend had everything within them to be able to pull themselves out. They didn't see it at the time, but I was placed in their life, and God showed me that because that's a part of my message. I'm supposed to let everyone know that you have everything within you to make the dreams on your heart come true. It's not going to be easy, but nothing worth doing ever comes easy. That breakthrough, that's what makes the victory so much sweeter.
But you can
So,
make it 10 times easier by not stepping in front of yourself, because that's what
exactly.
happens, right? You
Self-sabotage.
block yourself, right? And so
Yeah.
this is where, accountability, a coaching
Mhm.
group, or whatever it is that you want to create for yourself, right? There's so many different choices here, right? You've got different kinds of like life coaches, you've got business coaches, you've got friends and people in your life. Maybe you have a significant other or a spouse that's in your corner really heavy, like whoever that is, to keep you on the straight and narrow. Like I say all the time, dude, I struggle a lot. Like there is so many moments. If you've listened to any of my other podcasts, I'm usually the best about calling myself out that I am not perfect. I definitely struggle with things. I do not have it all together. So just because you think, oh, well, yeah, that's easy for y'all to say, like you guys are past the hard moment in time. No, not necessarily. Like we're
No.
right there in the thick of it with you. Maybe we're at a different stage. That might be true. Maybe our stage looks different than yours, but our path is not going to look like what your path is. My path's not going to look like what Beth's path is. It's going to look like what my path is. None of that is going to look that way, right? But there are people in your corner. I mean, Beth could tell you. I probably either text or call her weekly if something is not going right, and she usually says to me, "Did you do the EI method, Jacqueline? Did you do that? Have you gone to the website again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. My bad. I haven't done that. My bad."
So Jax brought up the EI method. That is a free strategy on my website. So God has recently brought me clarity within the last year that one of the things that has gotten me through all of my challenges, all of my struggles, were the strategies that I developed recovering from the car accident. These strategies help me to believe in myself more. They help me to build my confidence in what he was calling me to do, which his plan perfectly aligns with my purpose. That's why I'm here today, to be able to teach these strategies to all of you who are struggling, who are feeling stuck. One of the things that I've learned is to surround myself with the people who are where I want to be. That's why I'm still here today. If that's the only reason why I'm still here today, that's fine with me. But I'm still here today to let you know that you have someone who believes in you. To let you know that if I can make it through all of the heartache, all of the loss, all of the tragedy and trauma that I have been through, you have everything within you to do the same. I would like to
Absolutely.
invite you to download my free strategy, the EI method. I am in the process of working on getting my Pathway to Peace over to my new platform, which is the course where I teach the strategies that I had to develop going through the darkest days of my life. So please follow me on social media, check out my website, and stay tuned because I am in the process of writing my book, The Golden Ticket, and you won't want to miss that if you found value in this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I mean, like I said, you guys, I need you to remember and really take into account the fact that when you are going through trying to map out your life, think through your life, there are so many different things. And as opposed to getting overwhelmed, just kind of take a moment to step back and to sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that, I'm good at? What is it that I desire, right? What is it that, I want this to look like? Because a lot of times there's just a lot of noise, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of noise happening. I mean, we live in a society where we are bombarded with information, and there's so much. And I think for those of you who struggle with being neurodivergent in any capacity, I struggle with pretty severe ADHD, and so I can very much be like squirrel, and so all the things that happen when it comes to social media and email and, oh, my phone's going off and, oh, this and all that. Like it's hard. It's hard to like kind of just take a moment. But sometimes when you just kind of quiet your mind and you think it through or whatever, and then you start speaking those things into existence and taking those steps to go forward, like you can accomplish exactly what you are meant to do, what you desire to do. And aren't we blessed that we sort of live in a world where that's a possibility? I mean, I'm sorry, but 100 years ago, that really wasn't as much the case. I mean, think about it. Like how we interact with each other is entirely different. So yes, it might be overwhelming, but we're so blessed that like I can communicate with a friend of mine who's way across the world, and we can help each other, right? And things like that. So I think a lot of times, you go through these things and you haven't thought through the fact that you have all of the resources in the world. And if you will just step forward and just go the direction that you're being told to go, that one foot in front of the other. I mean, that's pretty much what you had to do when you had to learn to walk again, right, Beth? One foot in front of the other.
One foot in front of the other. I want to add something to that. If you're struggling to figure out what your purpose is, I'm going to ask you, what is the one thing that brings you joy? When you talk about it, what lights you up inside? That may not exactly be your purpose, but that's tied into your purpose. My purpose is to help people. That's what got me through all of my darkness 23 and a half years ago. The Bible verse, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. That's always been my hope. I always knew that my purpose was to be able to help others. Did I know how it was going to happen? I had absolutely no idea. Did I know that when I graduated with my degree in occupational therapy, that 12 years later I would be sitting here launching my inspirational speaking business and be doing transformational coaching? Nope. But it's the fact that I kept walking through the doors opening for me with faith and trust in his plan and my purpose. That's what's gotten me here today.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, I'm the same. I also have this heavy desire to help people. Mine is a little bit different. I have always been an educator by nature. It is just my natural bent. I like to break things down and make them easier to understand for people, and also not make them feel bad about it. I think specifically in my particular space, there's a lot of people that talk at people and they're not breaking it down in ways that they can tangibly use the tools to be able to help them, right? And sometimes, yeah, you need more professional tools, but a lot of times you have everything you need within yourself. You just have to sort of go down that path and take the proper steps. But a lot of times people just don't think about that. And honestly, I'm reminded of how we should view the world when I look at it through my toddler's eyes, because she's not afraid to make mistakes, right? I mean, occasionally if she makes a mistake, she'll kind of look at me and like kind of be a little bit aback, like, oh, I didn't realize that was not correct, but she's still willing to try. And I think as adults, we've just gotten that beat out of us. Like we've made mistakes. So we think, oh my gosh, I can't make more mistakes. Like how embarrassing. But the truth is that like, we're always all making mistakes and we're always failing forward. I tell brand new adults that all the time, the people who are just like baby adults, or they just turned 18 and they're thinking to themselves, oh my gosh, man, like I had one not too long ago. She told me like, well, yeah, but you have your life figured out. And I started laughing. And I said, I hear you. And I know that it feels that way for sure. And I definitely am speaking into existence what I want for my life, but I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And so don't let any adult like joke and tell you that they have it all figured out, because they don't, because you're constantly evolving, you're constantly shifting, you're constantly figuring out more things and more unique, ways to deal with things, and more people in your life that are there to help you and to speak into you. So for those of you who think to yourself, man, but like you guys have it figured out, I don't. That's not true. We might be more positive about where we're going, and we may be more positive that we're going to get there than you at this juncture. although you can have that too.
Exactly.
You though, we do not have it all figured out,
We
right?
just are a little bit further along than you, so come on board with us. Let's ride the same train. We can get you there. You just can't give up.
Well, and
You
I
know?
mean, like I said, I think this world really wants us to be trapped in a negative tailspin of
Yeah,
just muck. There's so much negative. Like I almost don't even watch the news, period, because it's
I
just
don't either.
depressing muck. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's not important. It's not important for us to know what's going on around the world or in like our cities and stuff like that or whatever. But you have to remind yourself that you are going to have to continuously step towards the light and continuously see the silver lining and continuously walk down a positive space, because if you don't, I mean, it will consume you and it will suck you in. And I spoke about this on a different episode of the podcast about my serious depression. So unlike Beth, I have been fortunate that I have not dealt with anything as severe and as life, just altering as she has, but I have dealt with systematic severe depression for before I ever reached adulthood, from basically about 15 on. And I have struggled with it my whole life. And so you're saying to yourself, but man, Jacqueline, you don't seem depressed. You don't seem like that's something that you struggle with. A lot of times it's not something that is easy to see on the surface, right? I mean, it's why I call myself out in other episodes about my spending problem, because that a lot of times gives me that temporary dopamine kind of feel good rush, right? Is like buying something. But I have learned to try to speak into that, to try to proactively, do that, to have people in my life like Beth who will speak into it. And when I'm having a bad day or I'm dealing with a rough time, that I can be vulnerable and be in a place to tell them, man, I'm just not doing great today. Because trust me, no matter how positive you are, not every day is going to go according to plan.
Nope, nope, not every day is a piece of cake. You are the only thing that you have control over.
I
God
say
is
that
in
all the
control.
time.
Yeah, God is in control. But your reaction, how you respond, what you do on a daily basis, your choices are the only thing that you have control over.
I was going to
So,
say control over anything else is a complete and utter illusion. You
exactly.
might believe that you have control over that, but anybody who has parented a toddler or even had a pet will know that that
That's,
is complete and
yeah,
utter BS.
yeah. So, I'm going to ask you, next time that you're feeling down, that you are feeling disheartened, that you are feeling like there's nothing good in this world, I want you to think back. I want you to reflect. What exactly has made you feel that way? Awareness is key because it could be coming from external forces. I've had that frequently in the last 5 to 6, 7 years of my life, where a lot of the stuff that was triggering me to be down was coming from external forces. But you have the power to take care of that. Once you become aware, that's when you can start setting safe boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
That you can start taking steps to take care of yourself again. That is key. That's how you're going to succeed. If you don't take good care of yourself, your mental health, and place the boundaries where they need to be placed, you're not going to be any good for anyone.
Absolutely. No, I don't disagree. And boundary setting is just important in life in general. I mean, even with um even with MySpace, right? I mean, not just boundary setting around, clients, realtors, or anybody in my space, but also with the client to us, right? Like, what's your boundary? Like, where are, yes, I might stretch your thinking a little bit. I might ask you hard questions about your finances or where you want to go or whatever, right? And then kind of challenge some of your thought process and things like that. That is my job. But if there is a boundary, and even if I want to stretch you on it, you're not willing to go there, that's okay. And it's acceptable for you to place that and say, this is my line. And it's taken me most of my life to figure out that boundary setting is so incredibly important with people, with everything that there is in life. and that. So we're needing to wrap this up. So Beth, I'm going to say, what kind of homework do you have for our listeners? We want to make this a tangible experience, something that they can take away and really feel like that they're starting to master some of these things that are going to help them financially and beyond.
So one of the easy homework assignments that I have for you, especially on days where you're feeling down and you're feeling blue and feeling like there's nothing good in this world, I want you to start waking up every morning and speaking 3 things that you're thankful for. Living gratefully. Same thing before you go to bed. At the end of every day, if you were feeling a little bit down at the end of the day, I want you to pull out 3 positive, 3 good things that happened today. Focus on that before you go to bed. That's going to turn things around so that when you wake up the next morning, you're going to be in a better mindset. You're going to have a better attitude with life. Focus on that. If you can do that every day, that is just one step to start to get you out of that low point that you may currently be being in. And
Yeah.
download the EIF method off of my website, elizabethinspires.com. The links will be in the show notes. So
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I mean, like she said, guys, attitude of gratitude, that is really, truly everything. It really does make a shift. I mean, even just something as simple as living in America, you may not necessarily feel like that is something you should be thankful for, but it truly is. I mean, tons of other countries are in poverty. They struggle with all kinds of things. I mean, just having running water or electricity or some of these other just like really basic things that you don't even really think about and you take for granted. And so there is always something that you can find, I promise, to be thankful for. And Beth, we super appreciate you being our guest on Financial Mastery Simplified. Hopefully, listeners, you found all of Beth's information to be helpful. And yes, as crazy as it sounds, even this stuff that is all about mindset is going to help you in your financial life and your financial future. So keep down this path with us, keep listening, and we hope to have you back again soon.
thank you very much, Jax. I enjoyed it. And thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a blessed day.